In this lesson, we'll finish the IK-FK feature that we've added for the creature's neck and head. Let's say we get started by creating a switch that we'll use to blend back and forth between IK and FK, and we can add it to our global control. A lot of times you'll find features like this on the global control because it's very easy to access those parameters from just one central location. Alright, so with our global control selected, we'll go to our Modify panel and we'll add an attribute holder. Let's now right click and choose Rename. We'll rename this to Extra Controls. And now we'll press Alt-1 to grab our parameter editor. We'll make this a float type so we can blend between the two modes. And let's name this neck_FKIK. This is the order that we will blend in. So FK first, meaning that when we're at a value of 0, we're in FK mode, and at 100%, we're in IK. Let's now go ahead and choose Add. Alright, so we're ready to start wiring our parameters. Now keep in mind that one of our weights will need to go in reverse, and we've done this already when we set up our dynamic parent feature in Volume 2. But in FK mode, we need to make sure we use our equation that says, even though the weight is zeroed out, still consider it as a value of 100%. And when we're at 100%, well then we need to make sure that that weight is equal to 0. So remember, the equation is very simple. We just need to add 1 minus in front of our expression. But let's go ahead and take a close look. So what we'll do is go ahead and hide Rexy. Let's hide its model. And with our global control selected, we'll right click and choose Wire Parameters. It's going to be Modified Object, Extra Controls. Here's FKIK. Let's go to wireframe mode, and we'll go ahead and grab neck A. Alright, so we'll search for transform, rotation. Here's the orientation constraint. Let's go ahead and connect into weight 1 first because that's a direct connection. Now watch what happens when we connect into weight 0. You'll see that the bone will shift because right now there are no weights tying it down. Right now both values are set to 0. So remember, our equation is as follows. Again, making sure weight 0 is highlighted. In the expression field, we'll type in 1 minus before neck FKIK. So what this says is that when we're at a value of 0, we're actually at 100%. That's what 1 represents. And then when we're at 100%, we're actually at a value of 0 because it's 100 minus 100. Alright, so we'll go ahead and choose Update, and you'll see that the neck will pop back into place. So that's what we need to do for the other bone objects. I'd recommend that you leave the IK-FK switch here on the left side and just load in the other objects. So we'll grab neck B, again the one that we've skinned to. We'll go ahead and refresh, and we'll search for our orientation constraint. There it is. So remember, weight 1 is a direct connection because that's IK. And then weight 0, we need to use our expression. So we'll go ahead and highlight that. We'll go ahead and put 1 minus. We're going to use our arrow here and then choose Connect. So let's go ahead and do that for the other bone objects here for neck C and neck D. I'll go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so the orientation constraints should now have been taken care of for our neck chain. So we move to the head necks, and it's going to be the same process. But this time we have a position constraint to worry about. So let's go ahead and grab the head bone. We'll go ahead and refresh the list. Go ahead and expand it to get to its position list first. Here's the position constraint. And it's the same way because we made sure that we constrained to FK first and then IK. Alright, so we'll go ahead and grab weight 1. We'll grab our IK-FK switch, and that's going to be a direct connection. And now with weight 0, we simply go ahead and use our equation of 1 minus the expression. Great. So let's go ahead and now take care of the orientation constraints. We'll go ahead and expand our rotation list. I'll increase the size of our wiring dialog so we can get to it. There we go. So weight 1, we'll go ahead and connect in. And then weight 0, let's go ahead and use our expression. Beautiful stuff. So let's now test this out. Let's make sure everything's working correctly. So right now, if we were to grab our global control, you can see we're in FK mode. Let's go ahead and make sure that this works. We'll grab our control rig and we'll start to move it. And take a look. We most certainly have an FK system here. What happens if we try to grab our IK control and move it around? Notice how the rig does not follow. How cool. Let's go ahead and bring back our model just to make sure of that. We'll grab our FK head and we'll start to move that. Great. We'll grab our control objects. We'll start to move those. Everything looks great. What happens if we start to move our IK rig? Take a look. The creature does not move at all. All right, success. Let's go ahead and test things out in IK mode now. So we'll switch our value to 100%. We'll start to move our neck root, and there we have it. How exciting. So we've managed to set up a really cool IK FK feature for Rexy. If we were to go ahead and move this, and then go back to our global node and start to use our value, I'll go ahead and start to drop this down to about value of 0, and now we're in FK. And then it is blendable, so you can see as we start to increase our value, we're back in IK. All right, great. So now we need to figure out a way to get his neck to be constrained, and this is actually really simple. Again, the problem is we have a bit of separation here, and this looks like skewing. It does not look like an actual squash and stretch. So let's go ahead and hide our model, and let's go ahead and finish up. The only thing we need to do here is go ahead and take the helpers that we added to constrain the head bone. We need to go ahead and take those and constrain those helpers to the nubs of the systems that they should be controlled with. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our IK control. I'm going to go ahead and alt-right click and use transform to 0 to bring it back, just to make sure everything's brought back. We'll do the same thing for the neck root, our head control. All right, beautiful. So once everything is aligned, watch. If we go ahead and take the IK helper and we position constrain, we can go ahead and tie that to its nub, which is here. Great. And now we'll go ahead and grab the FK helper and we'll position constrain to its nub. So we have to be really careful and make sure we click on the right object. We don't want to click on the bind chain, because if we do that, we'd run into a cyclic warning. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our character now. Since we're in FK mode, let me just double check. Yes, all right. So since we're in FK mode, you should notice that the character's head no longer will separate. Beautiful stuff. But if we start to rotate this control, everything's just fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at IK mode now. So we'll switch this to 100%. And we'll go ahead and grab our control, and we'll start to move that around. How exciting. Great, so we've learned how to create an IK-FK system. Feel free to go through the lessons again just to get the process down, because it's a very powerful and very helpful animation tool. Okay, so what we'll do now is just go ahead and just make sure everything's in its respective layer so we can start to hide our IK controls. That looks good. Our FK controls, great. How about our hidden layer? Let's go ahead and hide that. Great. IKs, how about that? Excellent. All right, so we're pretty much on the home stretch. We really don't have much to do. In the next lesson, we're going to create controls for the center of gravity and pelvis.